Hello everyone, and today we're back into another top 5, and we're talking about the top 5 Obsidrugon counters in the entire game. There's no doubt Obsidrugon is absolutely busted, and it's right now one of the best Loomians in the entire game. But there are quite a few Loomians that can beat Obsidrugon in a 1v1, so let's head right to them right about now. But before we do that, we're going to be talking about another giveaway. We're going to be giving away a Gleam Nymaurae. And surprisingly, Nimoray can actually beat Obsidrugon in a 1v1. So yeah, if you want this Gleam Nymaurae, say in the comments below, Alpha or Gleam Nymaurae. I will give y'all a number, and then within a few days, we're going to spin a random number generator wheel. And if your number is picked, you will win an awesome Gleam Nymaurae. Let's head right into the top 5. So number 5 onto this list is actually going to be one of the best tanks in the game, Barblast. Now, there's no doubt about this thing is tanky on both sides. And it also has Rejuvenate, Poison, Icicle Traps, and Setup. This thing has a bit of everything. The only flaw with Barblast is that it is a little bit slow, but other than that, Barblast kind of has everything. Has a great defensive typing. It's a ranged attacker that can hit pretty hard. It can often two-shot Obsidrugons, unless they're running very clever. If it's very clever, it'd be a 3-shot. And Barblast is one of the few Loomians that doesn't hit Obsidrugon super effectively, but can actually beat it without giving it a Rageful Plushie boost and some other stuff. So, Barblast is really tanky, and it's really good. The only reason it is number 5 is because, again, you can't hit Obsidrugon super effectively, and plus some Obsidrugons can run Earthquake, but it resists Body Crash, and it's neutral to Primal Slash, meaning that you could soak any Obsidrugon hit, and even Earthquake has to 3-shot you in order to defeat you most of the time, which makes Barblast one of the best checks and one of the best swap-ins for Obsidrugon in the entire game, even better than a couple of the other Loomians on this list. I mean, it's soaking Ursel hits. This thing is the best melee tank in the entire game, but there's also some other Loomians which are better for Obsidrugon. Number 4 onto this list is actually going to be Nimoray. And a lot of people might be shocked that Nimoray is not number 1 on the list, but I have a few reasons why it's not. But this thing resists Primal Slash, and it resists Body Crash. The only Loomian on this list that resists both of Obsidrugon's main moves. This thing can also one-shot most Obsidrugons with Incandescent and Gamma Pulse. It even has Luster Loop to gain HP back. It can heal with Purge. It can set up Peace of Mind. This thing is awesome when going up against Obsidrugon. But there's a couple reasons why it's not in the top 3 at all, even though it's one of the best Obsidrugon counters in the game. 1, some Obsidrugons can run Mega Chomp, although that is not the main problem. You could still live 1 Mega Chomp. But that's not even the main problem. The real problem is that it's so bad against a lot of other Loomians. Nimoray struggles against any other meta Loomian right now. And even though it hits very hard, Light Air offensively just isn't the best in the game. It needs another coverage move in order for it to be OP. Not to mention that light types can get walled by plant types. So you can pair your Obsidrugon with a plant type and then bang. That plant type takes no damage and it hits you hard in return. Nimoray is an amazing Obsidrugon counter, but not great all around. Number 3 onto this list is actually going to be Stratosaur. Of course, Stratosaur is going to make this list. It's a bulky Loomian that's a range attacker that hits it super effectively. It also has Perch and Magnify. It's basically a better Obsidrugon counter than Nimoray. Even though it's neutral to Body Crash, it still has some solid bulk. It can at least soak 2 of them at +1, which is really good for Stratosaur. But just like Nimoray, Metal Air offense just isn't the best. But it is a lot different scenario for Stratosaur. Has better bulk, even though it has lower range defense. And it also just has that setup. Like, +2 setup is just really good for Stratosaur. It even has good utility with, like, K, so it can stun other Loomians for future matchups. Stratosaur is definitely a lot better Loomian compared to Nimoray, but it definitely does not touch the top 2 Loomians on this list. But Stratosaur is really good against Obsidrugon, and probably one of the best Obsidrugon counters in the game. You can even counter Eclipse with this thing, which is awesome. So it can counter a bunch of really meta Loomians, which does make Stratosaur really good. And that's why it's in the top 3 over Barblast and Nimoray. Although it does not touch the top 2. Number 2 onto this list is actually going to be Eclipse. Of course, Eclipse is going to reach the list somewhere, and it's mainly because of its light-dark offense. Light and dark offense makes this thing pretty much hit anything in the game. And I remember when I said earlier about Nimoray on how plant type, you can usually run plant types on your team to counter Obsidrugon. Not anymore. Dark Surge is a potential problem, because Dark is super effective against plant, meaning that those plant types are terrified at swapping into its Eclipse. Not to mention that you can usually one-shot Obsidrugon. Now, warning, this is more of a check for Obsidrugon and not really a counter, because it's not as bulky as the other Loomians on the list. Like, +1 Body Crash can two-shot Eclipse most of the time. But even then, this thing is probably one of the best revenge killers against Obsidrugon. Also one of the best swap-ins if you know that they're not clicking Body Crash. The Eclipse is definitely one of the best Loomians in the entire game, and it definitely deserves to be on this list as well. But there is one Loomian which I think can do the job against Obsidrugon a little bit better, and we're going to get to them right about now. But before we do that, we're going to talk about our honorable mentions. Mutagon is the first honorable mention. The only melee attacker we're going to talk about on this list. It resists Body Crash and has amazing melee defense. And can set up 3 Brawn boosts and beat Obsidrugon. Only reason why it's not on the list is because it's an Uber. So, yeah, everyone knows that Mutagon cannot be used in tournament. So that's why it's only an honorable mention. Another honorable mention is Luminami, and I really wanted to put it on the list, but it doesn't hit hard enough. It doesn't hit Obsidrugon hard enough, and the pivot doesn't usually matter because there are not many counters for Obsidrugon in the game. A lot of people use Luminami as a counter for Obsidrugon or a check, so it just doesn't work as well as an Obsidrugon counter. Great Loomian, but not a good Obsidrugon check or counter. The best Obsidrugon counter in the entire game might shock you. Cosmerer Cracked. I know what you're thinking. This thing is weak to Primal Slash. How is this a counter/check? Well, it has Enchanted Coat, which could soak the hit, and has amazing melee bulk. Not to mention that a lot of Cosmerer Cracks run a little item called Rageful Plushie. So they can usually live 3 Primal Slashes. Even if one of them crit, you would still live 3. This thing is very bulky. And it resists Body Crash. And since Obsidrugon is usually clicking the move Body Crash to deal heavy damage, you could soak pretty much any Body Crash from an Obsidrugon. You could soak +6 Body Crashes from Obsidrugon. Not only that, you can hit Obsidrugon super effectively with Meteor Crash. And if he does predict you coming in with the Primal Slash, you get +2, and you can easily sweep teams. This is why Cosmerer Cracked is the best counter for Obsidrugon in the entire game. And even though it doesn't have Rejuvenate, it has Slumber, it has Peace of Mind for setup, and it even has Mind Coverage to hit other Loomians. And while it cannot hit Metal types, there are often times where this has beaten Metal types by clicking Peace of Minds, which is just absolutely nuts. Cosmerer Cracked is cracked. It should even be up there in the Busted Loomians discussion. Cosmerer Cracked definitely is the best Obsidrugon counter in the entire game. And here it is, Cosmerer Cracked. This thing is literally cracked. And this Busted Loomian can beat another Busted Loomian. I hope you guys enjoyed this list of me talking about the top 5 Obsidrugon counters. If there's some other Loomians that you want me to talk about and talking about their counters, tell me down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all all later. Bye-bye!